So I just want to, because I understand some of the concerns, and I've heard people talk about the fuel. Isn't it seizing the fuel? Isn't it also a public safety issue? Because when you have a protest and a bunch of people have large amounts of fuel, that could actually lead to some dangerous things like arson.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's always a risk, right? And I think that's something that, in acting in civil disobedience, you're going to break some laws. And, there's always a risk that, there are malevolent groups that may see this as an opportunity to kind of co-opt the movement and, push for violence and stoke the fire. But largely we haven't seen any of that. It's been like I was telling Vince, it's been like supremely organized. The logistics lines that these guys have in place are unlike anything I've ever seen, and it's been allowing them to maintain the momentum. And well, I'll say as well, just yesterday we were on the highway and there was a whole other convoy coming in down the highway from Alberta. So this.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that, reinforcements are on the way and it doesn't look like this will be something that's ending anytime soon.
So what about the issue? Because I've heard this from some of the people who've been talking about the counter protest is about trash, hygiene, and noise, for the people who live in that community. I understand it's the same thing that people were complaining about, like I said, here in the United States with Black Lives Matter. And some of the other, groups that went even a little farther, like in Portland and in, the Pacific Northwest. What about that issue? Is that an issue? Is there a lot of noise late at night? Is there a lot of, trash, hygiene issues, particularly when you're talking about these families and children being around? Is that going on, and is that unsafe?
Yeah, so I mean, I'll first say that, this is something that the Ottawa City Council in particular has jumped all over in an attempt to, again, kind of paint the movement as something that's dangerous to public health. And one other thing I'll say, just being down there, I've never seen a cleanlier protest, honestly. Like there are stations all over the downtown core where there are trash collecting stations. You see people going around shoveling the snow and ice off the sidewalks. I mean, it is being painted as, a dirty kind of risk to public health. But, I would encourage people in Ottawa to go down there and see it for themselves. Because
it seems to me the way that the media has been covering this, that the worst that they can find in terms of criminality is noise complaints, that people are honking their horns at odd hours of the night. And of course, that would have the effect of waking people up. But that seems to be the most intense criminality that I've even read about. Beyond that, It's been kind of comical.
That's frustrating for people who live there. I'll just say.
Okay, but I mean, just as a relative measure,
upset about that.
As a relative measure, if you're reporting on like, hey, what are the problems of this protest? Oh my gosh, like they're honking their horns. If that's the best that their critics can throw at them, then that generally tells you a story, doesn't it? And one of the things I found interesting was that you have leaders there in Ottawa who are complaining about the fact that there are bouncy houses there for the children to play on, that somehow people have pulled saunas in to spend some time in. First of all, that's an amazing thing to bring a sauna and hot tubs to a truck protest, and that apparently there've also been pizza ovens on the street, people cooking pizzas. This has been suggested as like some sort of nefarious activity. Have you seen all of these things, and how concerned were you for your safety when you saw the bouncy house?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen it all. I've seen on every corner there was a soup kitchen. There was pizza, there was coffee, there was like the homeless people in Ottawa have never had it so good. And I'll even say crime rates in the market in Ottawa, which is not an overly safe place to be in the first place. Like personally, I avoid that place like the plague because there are shootings, stabbings. It's not necessarily the safest place. Crime rates in the core have gone down since the truckers have arrived. And one other thing I'll say is that on one side of the argument, there are people saying that these protesters are breaking bylaws. Meanwhile, municipal local bylaws in Ottawa. Meanwhile, the protesters are saying, you've infringed on our charter rights.
Yeah.
Right. So there's kind of two different scales of argument going on.